Welcome one and all. Welcome to Beyond BMR. Of course, I'm your host, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing Tuesday night? Joining me in Studio B from Missouri, from the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. If you have not subscribed, please do so. Krista joins me. Got a great show. Greg Ogles joins us tonight. Greg Ogles with Relic Films, filmmaker, producer, adventurer, experiencer, you name it. We got it packed because on Beyond BMR, we go beyond the realms, talk about all this weird stuff. Thanks to Greg in advance for coming on in. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob on YouTube. I also mentioned the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast found on YouTube, and Texas Front Porch, all found on YouTube. I don't give out the schedule anymore. Turn on the alert bell. We're on blah, blah, blah. We're on 6 days a week, everybody. That's right. Actually, Sunday through Saturday, we're on. We got a bunch of great shows. The Blondes are on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Tex, he's on Monday and Sundays. And I think Wednesday he does a daytime show. I'm not sure about that yet. But yeah, check us out. Turn on the alert bell. Turn on the, what else? Leave a comment and please give us a thumbs up. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, wherever podcasts are found. Again, if you like and want to help support the show, the Super Chat is open. Yes, the Super Chat is a great way to help support everything we do around here. You too can also join today. Become a BMR pirate. Arr, matey. Join today. You get a picture of me with a bandana next to your name in the chat room. Also, coming up later in the fall, I'm going to be putting together some members-only shows for you guys that are BMR pirates. So it's something new. Look forward to that coming on, but you won't find anything if the alert bell isn't on. So thanks for that. Check out our YouTube pages for all of our events and scheduled activities that we do have coming on for y'all. Again, thank you for coming in. Really briefly, before we get the show rolling, I want to thank everybody, as I always do, as long as I can scroll up and find it. Thanks to everybody that bought my first book, Bigfoot Mr. Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1. Thanks for that. It's about a little over a year old. Thank you. Leave a review on Amazon. Does come calling. All you need to do is type Bigfoot Michigan Rob in your Amazon browser to find it. And also, Book 2, I released that at the end of August. Book 2, same title. I reversed the copy of the images. Well, of course, Jason McLean did the artwork on this. You can also find this on Amazon. It's been out for a little over a month. Thank you for that. Leave a review. It's all analytics these days. So thank you in advance for that. So we're going to get this party started. And I'm going to bring up the lovely Krista.
Hey.
Hey, Krista. Good to see you. What's happening?
Good to see you. Not a whole lot. Just been busy working, that kind of thing, a lot going on.
Yes, it's that time. Well, it's always busy, especially you got kids going back to school officially as of a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, the schedules do seem to get changed up, and you've been doing some weekend activity with the kids, which is totally awesome as well.
Yeah, with kids, just had that ghost hunt on Friday night. Just been super busy,
Yeah, I've been pretty busy, doing this, that, and the other, and
I'm getting busier because so is Brandy. We are actually going to start going live on TikTok.
Well, wow, we'll have to look forward. You're venturing into the wild world.
Yeah,
of TikTok.
We are. We my. Who would he be now? A boy I raised, put it that way.
Okay.
My ex-husband's oldest son. My biological kid's oldest brother. He's a TikToker, and he makes a whole lot of money, and he's on there all the time. And he talked Brandy and I into doing some lives with him. So there we go. We're going.
Well, get your feet wet in that. I'm on TikTok, and I've got all these followers, right? And I don't even know how, because I've only put out.
So you should do lives with us on TikTok.
I do have a Bigfoot account, a TikTok account under Bigfoot Mission Rob, but I really don't do a lot. And I just find that so many. It seems like it's so hard to pinpoint your target audience. It seems like
Right.
everybody is mother on there, and half
Yeah.
the people that follow me have no clue as to what even a Bigfoot is. It's just so weird.
Yeah. Well, Moon just said TikTok is being banned. Hearings today in DC. So maybe we won't be doing TikTok.
Oh well,
But not for long anyway.
I did hear something about that like last year,
Yeah.
and hey,
That's what
fine.
it is.
TikTok will go down, and some other company will come up with
There's always
something
somebody around the
else.
place, for
That's
sure.
going to become the thing that everybody's on.
Yeah.
So, but thanks for coming on.
Of course.
Bigfoot Michigan Rap Show with Krista, and I'm gonna bring up our awesome guest, Mr. Greg Ogles.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey.
Hey, Greg, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I do appreciate it. I think this will be a great show tonight, and we're going to get into a lot of what you're all about, Greg, with Relic Films. You've got some documentaries out. You got one coming out in January that I'm holding on to my seat for that one, Greg. I might even have to make the premiere. I might just have to make the premiere, my lord.
You need to. I'm telling you, Rob, you got to come down and do that.
Well,
it's going to be fun.
I'm sure it's going to be fun. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And
you know what, though? I'm going to ask for a do-over because in that film, since that film, I've lost quite a bit of weight and I'm still losing weight. So I won't be quite the same person.
Yeah, this is the time. Yeah, well, good for you. Congratulations thus far with your journey. This is about the time of the year where Bigfoot Rob just doesn't do much anymore. I usually, try to cut back on all the calories you're eating, the libations on the weekends, except for maybe on Sunday, watching my Lions. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gets boring, but you got to do what you got to do. You can't have fun every single day of the week, right? You gotta have your limitations set.
Sure, you can't. Who says you can't have fun?
To my extent, listen, I could tell you stories, and I'm not going to go there today. Not on a public forum.
There you go. Not on a public forum.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, Greg, we were driving back from the Alabama Bigfoot conference, Krista and I and her husband, and we took a detour through the land between the lakes. And I must tell you, I'm not a novice when it comes to the woods and walking around the woods, hiking, this, that, and the other. And outside of my experience, which wasn't even creepy in the beginning, in the onset, when I saw that Bigfoot in Wexford County, Michigan, Lake Cadillac, that was creepy after I had my encounter. But I got to tell you something. I've heard all these stories about the LBL, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay. I must say, though, and when I say this, I'm not saying this to promote the LBL, to promote your documentary, your film coming out, or just to say, wow, the LBL is creepy. Within less than 5 minutes, of course, it didn't help that we walked right in the middle of a cemetery. Now, I know there's like 220 plus cemeteries.
237.
Okay, at the LBL. Yeah. Okay, thanks for the exact number, Krista.
Quite welcome.
I've got to say, outside of that creepy aspect, I got a vibe. And it was unusual. It wasn't anything where I felt dread or I wasn't scared. And of course, I pulled out my phone and I turned on the video. I just started scanning. I got like 15 minutes of film. And then I just started slapping. I got like 100 pictures. Because how people say, hey, sometimes your best findings are when you just haphazardly do the scan the woods, right? Mm-hmm. I haven't gone through all that yet. I haven't found anything. But I must say, though, that the feeling that I got in there was different. It was very different. And then I find out that a part of the area that we walked was in fact one of the areas in which you did part of your film.
So you've been there.
So I've actually been there to an actual area where you did some footage. And that's why I'm really looking forward to that. And we could talk a little bit about that later in the show. When I was preparing for this show, I realized I've been doing this for about 3 years. I've done over like 400 live shows with guests, researchers, experiencers, and another 150 videos on other subjects. And I've never done a show on the infamous Land Between the Lakes. It's because, in part, that it's been played over at nauseum on a lot of channels now or podcasts. So I figured, well, do I really want to tackle that? But I got to tell you, after going through the LBL, and I've really never even, I've talked to Krista about this a little. I've never spoken with you on it. So I decided, well, you know what? Why don't we just revisit the Land Between the Lakes to get your take on this? Because we've all heard about the top story with the family, the alleged family that, they were, you can't say killed or murdered on YouTube, can you? So I'll just say unalived, right?
Unalived.
And then
You already said it.
and yeah, I know I said it, but what am I to do? And then the bow hunter found it up in a tree or along the side of a tree. So whether you believe in those stories or not, the LBL is fascinating. A lot of uneventful events have occurred outside of those stories. So I just wanted to start this before we get into your filming and your producing. What is your take on that story? Just again, this show is opinion based, mostly what we believe, conjecture. And I know since you do filming over there, and I know that's a topic of interest for you, what is your overall take on that situation, that story?
The massacre story.
Yeah.
Well, I will say we were at the site where it allegedly happened, where you were.
Yeah.
And there does seem to be a lot of orb activity that happens there.
Mhm.
Now, about the actual event itself, I don't know much about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't. I've heard stories, just like everybody else has.
Yeah.
And I tried to confirm some of those stories with the rangers at the LBL prior to filming, and I really didn't get a straight answer from them. They said that there have been incidents in the LBL, but they really wouldn't go into detail as to exactly what happened. So at this point, I'm still not really qualified whether or not to say whether or not that massacre really happened. However, I will say that that area has a lot of orb activity, and it has so much so orb activity that it made it into the film. We captured them on camera, in color.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible, the orb activity. I know the night that you and I and a couple others were over there.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, if you'll recall, that first night, the orbs were rather quick, and they were kind of flashy.
Yeah.
However, the last night we were there, the orbs were very much sustained, and they stayed luminous really almost the entire time we were there. As a matter of fact, they may have stayed luminous longer than we were there because it was so dadgum cold. We had to go.
Wow.
We left. Yeah. I mean, it was, I don't know, in the 20s, but man, it was cold. Yeah, it was cold. So we had to go, but they were still there.
Yeah.
It's funny because, and really not funny, we often hear stories about orbs. And then thanks, Maggie, for that super sticker. Maggie M10 from Australia. Thanks, Maggie.
Ooh.
Yeah. We got a couple Australians in here tonight. Back to the question about the orbs. You often hear accounts about where there's an orb. A lot of time we have activity, alleged Bigfoot or even Dogman activity with orbs. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering now, of course, not giving too much away from your film, with the orb activity, that didn't produce a Dogman or a Bigfoot, did it? And what's your take on that?
In the first film, it did.
Oh wow, okay.
In the first film, we were actually filming an orb, and the Legend of the Downy Booger,
Mhm.
And we didn't see this with our eyes, but when we started going over the footage, you know how you say that sometimes you don't see everything with your eyes. You take the cameras and whatever, and you start going over your footage. Well, when we started going over the footage, we noticed something crawling between us and the orb, and it's gigantic, you know, uh, and it's doing exactly what would seem to be like the spider crawl
Mhm.
that you hear about. It's almost identical to that. So I would say yes, when there is some sort of connection between these orbs and cryptid activity.
Mhm.
I mean, we got both in one footage. Now I went back to the LBL a couple of weeks after the filming event, and I started filming some more. Unfortunately, that filming event, every bit of my footage was corrupted, but we went back to where we had caught the orbs, and sure enough, there were lots of orbs there again, and we had cryptid activity there that night.
Mhm.
So, but unfortunately, I didn't get it on film because all the footage was corrupted.
Wow, that's a bummer.
Yeah, there's a lot of encounters when we're at the LBL that we didn't get because of either the footage is corrupted or had battery drainage. Battery drainage was an issue.
Yeah, and that's very much a real thing there. When
Mhm.
at one time when I was there, there was myself and a friend we were both doing EVP session around the kill site, and we each had a recorder. And the next day we went to play them, and neither one of us had anything. Neither one of us. I mean, like our recorders didn't record anything. So
Mhm.
I get that. That is very true what you just said there.
It is, and it's one of the reasons why it takes us so long to get footage, because I mean, actually we do have encounters, but in the rare instances that you actually do get encounters, uh, I would say at least a third or more of those times
Hmm.
you have footage corruption and or battery issues when you have
Hmm.
those encounters. It's like, and I talked about this last night. Uh, about one of the encounters at the LBL that I really wished we had on camera is during the big encounter that we had there that we got on film. That encounter lasted probably 25 minutes roughly.
Wow.
Hmm.
And at the end of that encounter, what we thought was the end of it, both of our cameras that we were using to film with died. The batteries just died on them. And we should have been filming for hours with those cameras.
Hmm. Wow.
But I went to go look for some of the prints where this Bigfoot was in front of the truck. And, I didn't see any prints, but, I was like, well, I'm going to see if, the Bigfoot's still around. So I did this growl, this myself,
Mhm.
and I heard a boom, boom, boom. It stomped in the woods. It was still there. And Brent was walking up, and he looked over and he said, "Hey, did you hear that?" And I said, "Yeah, it stomped. It reacted." And I said, "I'm going to do it again." So I did it again. I went, raw, and it stomped again. But
Yeah.
this time it was right at the edge of the woods, just boom, boom, boom. He looked over. He said, "You got to stop doing that shit." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I'm going to stop." But
Yeah. Close.
it was way too close then. But I was like, I would have loved to have had that encounter on film, you
Mhm.
know, but that gun battery's drained.
Yeah.
So,
And of course it did, Greg. And Krista knows this, this, I know this. Why is it that anytime an orb is around or an alleged Bigfoot, a dogman, any cryptid, hell, it could be anything paranormal,
mhm.
why is it that we always get this power dump on our equipment? Is it just the frequency level? Is it the vibration? What in
I,
your opinion is it?
I think it's a frequency issue that
Mhm.
either interferes with or drains the batteries.
Drains batteries. Mhm.
hmm
Mhm.
That's really what I think it is. and for it to have the same type of interference with video footage, I think it has something to do with the frequencies.
Yeah.
So,
But some of these things are smart too. If it's on like a, I guess like a paranormal, a ghost type thing, because Friday morning we were getting activity where we were at this past Friday morning. So I went to go live and everything quit, just stopped. And then until I got off the live and it happened again. So yeah, I think there was some intelligence there.
Oh, I definitely think there's a lot of intelligence there. The second time I was at the LBL, we had one of these Orbs buzzes. I mean, it came within 2 feet, roughly.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a really, really good close look at it. And
what area were you in when that happened?
It was at the cemeteries. It was the same place. It was at the cemetery. And this guy named Johnny that was with us, it startled him. He jumped backwards, like, what the crap was that? That had happened to me before, so I really wasn't all that startled. I was just really more looking to see what I could see in it. And really, unfortunately, it was translucent. You could see through it when it was so close. And it was a yellowy orange type, a little ball about the size of,
there you go.
About the size of a softball.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not quite that big, but right, comparable to a softball.
The very first one I ever seen out there, and it was around Energy Lake area at the LBL. It was cold. It was January, and there was nobody else out there, only us crazy people. And the one I seen was reddish oranges, but it was about the size of a beach ball.
Yeah. This was kind of reddish, orangish, yellowish looking,
Yeah.
It only lasted for a second, second and a half, because it materialized real close to us and went zipped past us, real fast, and then it disappeared again. So I mean, it was really interesting. And, that's the second close encounter that I've had with those. The other one I had was also a reddish orange orb. And Brent was with me then. We both kind of turned around and saw it, and it was about 5 feet away from us and was like moving straight toward me. And again, was only lasted a second and a half. So, and again, translucent.
Wow. What do you think these orbs are? Do you think, because the location where you are at is the cemetery. So there is ghosts there, because we have had like ghost activity and EVPs and stuff from there. But it's also been known, for the cryptid side of things too. So what do we...
really, before you answer that, Greg, Krista, you and I have been working together way too long, as you stole my follow-up question.
Sorry.
But I'm glad you don't have to say you're sorry.
Good minds think alike. We'll just go with that.
That's right. Great minds think alike.
There we go.
What do I think they are? I don't want to just spread conjecture on what I think they are. However, I will say this about them. They're either intelligent themselves or under intelligent control. And I tend to lean more toward they are intelligent themselves. Because if you ever try to approach these orbs that are sustained, they will keep a relative distance between, from between you and it. Now, if you move forward, it'll move backwards. If you move backwards, it'll follow you, but it'll keep that same relative distance the whole time. So
I guess like, because when I told you about the first orb that I saw out there, right before that, Brandy had seen eye shine. And it was tall eye shine in the woods. It wasn't a raccoon. It wasn't, anything low to the ground. So, part of me is like, could it be like, I don't know, can these creatures morph and come? It's their way of coming closer to look
very well possible.
And see, or,
It's very well possible. I have heard 3 stories now from 3 separate people that have no connection to each other,
Mhm.
where a person has collapsed into an orb and moved off, like a certain distance, either long distance
Wow.
or short distance. The first time I heard it, I thought, yeah, that's far-fetched science fiction. But I
Mhm.
heard it again, and then I heard it again from people that I trust really. I would trust with my life. Um, and these are very credible people. And the other people, I just didn't know whether or not they were. I didn't know them well enough to know whether if they're credible or not. But 3 separate times I've heard this. So
Yeah.
I think it's possible for them, for if it's like one of the cryptids, to collapse into an orb, and then that's the
Mhm.
way they move around.
Right.
Hmm.
I've heard that before, and I know you don't want to speculate on a lot of different things. And I must tell you, I've been trying to get this person on the show. I've talked to him several times, and in fact, I first seen this guy or heard this guy like when I first started doing podcasts, and I've talked to him occasionally through the email, right? He's not on Facebook, not on any social media, but I do have his email address. But he was on the Paranormal Portal with Brent Thomas back when I first started engaging in this, phenomenon, right?
Hmm.
And this guy had 3 shows with Brent, well, back to back to back within 2 months, I guess it was something like that.
Mhm.
Now, this guy, his first name is John. I'll leave it at that for now, considering he's still reluctant to come on this show because I think he took flack when he was on Brent's show. I'll be honest with you, but he claimed to be an ET extraterrestrial contactee. We've all heard about people that claim to have these abilities or been abducted and spoke with these other worldlies and came back, talking about their message for humanity or the world, the planet, what have you.
Hmm.
But he claimed to say that they talked about the subject of orbs. I found it very interesting that he suggests or he knows, and he had broke it down to the red orb, the green orb, the yellow orb, orange orb. I'm not going to get into all the breakdowns, okay? Some signified a threat, friendly, exploration, and whatever the other fourth one was, I forget. But he said they come down. Now, this is him talking, right? And this is what I was listening to. So I kind of want this guy on the show. It'd be interesting, if
Mhm.
anything else. He says that these orbs are sent down from alien craft and they're out looking for whether it be resources or Bigfoot or human beings or other cryptids or the Fae, but their job is to roam, our states, our woodlands, our forests, looking for things to bring back to the mothership to study.
Hmm.
It's kind of a different take on that. I'm not saying I buy it or not. Either way, I believe what people say. I believe people have their beliefs, right? Where
Mhm.
they experience them or not is another story. But have you heard anything like that? Do you think there's perhaps of some validity to that? Perhaps.
We've theorized some of the same things. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've theorized the same things. But again, it's conjecture. I don't
It
have
is.
anything to prove that.
No. Right.
But many times we have theorized, are these things a probe of some sort? That's why I always leave open that these things are under intelligent control or
Right.
intelligent themselves.
Yeah.
So
Talk-
yes, I've go ahead. I'm sorry.
You've heard. Yeah, we've all heard that. I've heard it, and I thought it was fascinating. And you talk about intelligent control. Since we'll talk about the orbs just for a little bit longer here,
Mhm.
the orb could even be intelligent control, controlled by maybe our own government creating these things for whatever the reason. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know if anybody in our government's smart enough to do it or not.
Well, it's probably the so-called ABC agencies. Nothing that
Mhm.
nobody that we have in control.
You know, I surely don't know what they are.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, they're translucent when they're close to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they
Yeah.
can disappear.
They can, and this guy you say translucent, and this guy John was even talking about yes, translucent, but some of the bigger ones
Mm-hmm.
that he got up and close to, you could actually see a couple humanoid figures actually at the control,
Okay.
navigating it.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I would call that a craft.
that would be, yeah, a craft. And he says a lot of these craft too are actually covered in like a plasma
Mm-hmm.
where they can just, the reason why they can go at this travel at the speed of the light, supposedly at the speed at the speed of light, they won't disintegrate, leaving an atmosphere to atmosphere, galaxy to galaxy. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I never got that deeply involved in that, but I don't know. Anything's possible.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've learned when I first started doing this, I thought I knew a lot. However, once I got into doing this and started chasing the rabbit holes and experiencing a lot of things, I really, found out that I don't know anything. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the more I'm into it, the more
Hey,
questions I have, and the
Yep.
dumber I feel. You know.
yeah, that's the thing too. I say that a lot. Krista says a lot. The more I think I know nothing. And then the deeper I go down the rabbit hole, and the more people I talk to, or the more things I read, or whatever I find, the more a lot of these things sometimes seem to be ridiculous
Yeah.
beyond understanding, but you can't write it off as science fiction though, because once you do that, you could be proven wrong, and
Mm-hmm.
then you really look like the dummy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Exactly.
know,
You really
Yeah.
look like a DA.
you know.
Oh, right. There you
Mhm.
go. Yeah.
So I've learned to be a whole lot more open minded over the last decade or so, and now I'm nowhere near in the same spot that I was when I first started doing all this. So I'm in a much different place, and I'm really glad that I've started doing this because it's really opened up my mind to more possibilities
Mm-hmm.
and just a bigger universe.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm with you because, well, like when I first started this too, I thought I knew what everything was. I thought I knew what ghost was. I thought I knew what Bigfoot was. There was no such thing as a Dogman. Well,
there it
you
is.
know, right. So
Mhm.
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, there's nothing like believing like there is in seeing, right?
Mhm.
And I didn't believe in ghosts. I saw one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think. I was like, well, people are seeing
Yeah.
things, and then both Janice and I saw an Indian on a horse materialize in a field,
Wow.
and it was just as solid as me and you, and it
Mhm.
rode all the way through the field and got to the trees, and it disappeared. So I'm
Wow.
like, well, dang,
That's incredible.
I will
yeah,
say,
it was a fascinating experience. It really
Hmm.
was.
Hmm.
oh, I'm sure it was just like, I've seen many a ghost in my time, always fascinating, but I'm like you. I did not believe in ghosts really at all. Even though I tell people I seen a ghost at 5, 6 years old throughout life. When I was a little kid, I did not believe in ghosts because every time I saw a ghost, which later on in life, when I got much older, I realized it was a ghost, I would always run into mom and dad's bedroom. And I would always tell them about the ghost that I seen in my bedroom. And of course, like parents do, you didn't see a ghost, you had a nightmare. So throughout a lot of my childhood growing up, whenever I had these weird experiences, primarily with the paranormal, my mom and dad always accredited it to a nightmare, my imagination. Go to bed an hour earlier. You can no longer watch horror movies, Robbie, before bed type of thing, you know?
Hmm.
And that's what the parents do to protect you, to make you calm at night, right?
Hmm.
But as I got older and started looking into this stuff, I for sure know that ghosts exist. I know what I've seen, and I know them to be ghosts. Me
Mhm.
personally, personally
Yeah.
from my experiences.
Yeah. So like I say, I don't believe in ghosts anymore. I know that there's ghosts because I've
Right.
seen one.
Yeah.
I've seen one.
Me too.
I'm not a believer in Bigfoot at all. I'm a knower. I've seen one.
Yeah, correct. Me too. Right.
There's a difference. Before I was a believer because I could follow the evidence, and believing is following a certain amount of evidence or faith or whatever you might have in a thing or someone or whatever, right? But when you actually experience it, you know it. And that's something that's more than just belief. But before I was a believer, now I'm a knower. And I still don't try to convince anybody. And I'll tell anybody my story, but you can believe it if you want to or not. But I know it exists.
Right.
One of the things that we did in our film is we hear a lot about infrasound, and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we were hit pretty hard. My crewmate Brent, he went berserk there at the LBL. He had a terror attack, not just a panic attack, but terror attack.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, well, maybe this was infrasound, and we actually caught these growls on audio. So we went back and started analyzing these growls, but we didn't catch anything under 98 hertz. Nothing.
Wow.
But we had all of the symptoms that people experience: the nausea, the fear, the whole gambit of symptoms that comes along with what people associate with infrasound. But I'm a traffic engineer by trade, and many years ago, we had a conference in which the FLIR company was at, and what they were doing there, they were trying to sell us on this this technology that would focus sound waves, and you could actually target a driver in a car if that driver was doing something that they wasn't supposed to do, and only that driver would hear your message, right?
Wow.
So I'm thinking, well, okay, if I can't prove that it's infrasound, maybe it's doing something like this, like FLIR has learned to do, is to focus these sound waves so that it would, disrupt the body and produce much of the symptoms just like infrasound does. So maybe that's what they're doing, instead of just it being infrasound, because infrasound would be omnidirectional. It would go everywhere. Whereas focused sound waves would not. And to me, I'm starting to lean more toward, they're able to focus sound waves instead of it being an infrasound.
I got to ask you because, and I don't want to have you break down the actual technical or the technicalities of hertz, sound waves. You mentioned 95 hertz, and all this. And I often often feel like a dummy on the show when someone starts throwing out these numbers like 95, 13, 1500 decibels. So I don't get into it and say, I just nod my hand. Wow. Yeah. But in layman's terms, what are we talking about with these numbers? I mean, the higher, what's that? A lower residual?
Yeah, and okay, I'll have for me to explain, and I have to start scientifically first. The lowest sound that the normal person can hear is 20 hertz, and the highest I think is like 20,000 hertz. So you can get pretty high, but infrasound is the low end, right? So it's not the ultra sound, which would be the higher end. This is the infra, so it's on the lower end. So essentially, what that is take music, for example. the deeper the bass, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. The deeper it is, the lower in hertz it goes, right?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, and don't worry about the decibel level. That's just the loudness of it. You
Okay.
could have a 15 hertz drum beating, and it would be 100 hertz, and you would never hear it, but you would feel it.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
Kind of. Go ahead.
right, yeah. So, this is what I was trying to say is that, it's, I think they have ability to focus sound waves so that the pressure inside these tunnels of sound is so high that you can feel it, but it's only in this small area. It's almost like a laser. Think of it like a laser. You know, uh, a laser, you can see the beam, but it doesn't necessarily light up anything around it necessarily. Right? Until it hits something, and then it, bounces off of it and whatnot. But sound waves would sort of do the same thing. So when it comes to sound, you have the decibels, which is how loud it is, right? And how much pressure that it's creating. Like you like set off a bomb, the shock wave. That's actually a sound pressure wave coming. Boom. So, and a shock wave, if it's less than 15 or less than 20 decibels, you wouldn't hear it, but you would definitely feel it, right? So that's the difference between hertz and decibels.
Gotcha.
Okay. Kind of like when you're at a concert and you're very close to the big speakers on stage, you can hear. I mean, you can hear the music from the band clearly, and there's no problems. But then when you leave the concert, I mean, your ears, you can't hear for a while. Is that
Right.
kind of the same kind of along that area?
Because the sound pressure affects your ears at that point. The loudness of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and if it was down really, really low, but like below, the sound, you wouldn't necessarily hear it, but you could still feel it, and it would still have the same effect on your ears.
Yeah.
Because it's pressure, versus how fast that pressure is going. The frequency is the sine wave going up and down, and the pressure is how big that sine wave is. Okay. Anyway.
No, that's kind of interesting because I always talk about, you've heard about my encounter story where when that creature let out that sonic boom that I always say, where it was like, I feel like it was like a shock wave, and I always describe it kind of like if you see a bomb explode, how the shock waves, vibration just travels.
Yeah.
And I always, and what happened to me, as I've said many times, is when that happened to me, not only did I feel it, the girlfriend certainly felt it. She got flipped off the boat, and I even stumbled back. And then with the sight, I can't explain because the sight turned black and white and grainy. But after that hit me, though, it was such a loud blast that I literally, too, could not hear for like several seconds. I had to do one of these, and I'm wondering because maybe that was ultrasound of some sort, right? A higher, would that be the decibel?
That would be the decibels.
Okay. So, and that altered my hearing where I was literally deaf for eight
the
seconds.
Decibels.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the decibels.
But I'm wondering too, why some people like I could hear it. Now, there was no one really on the lake where I was at. And even when I talk to people that hear these blasts, these large moans or grunts from the woodline, how certain people can hear them and other people can't.
Well, people have different hearing ranges. So there's certain frequencies that I'm not very well adept at hearing at.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of mine's on the high end. Low ends I can hear,
Okay.
but on the higher end I can't hear as high as other people can. So
Okay.
that's probably just got to do with the differences in people.
Right.
Gotcha.
You know,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
but getting to this film, I am so excited.
Yes.
Maybe 80%, 80 to 85% done now.
Wow, you're rolling right through it, aren't you?
You are rolling through it.
Yeah, we're on schedule. I'll say that we're on schedule. When we get done with our first draft, we have to go through and watch it like 18 bajillion times, making notes. That's it. That's
Here it
us.
is. This is the Relic Films production. A Relic film production. That's so small I can't read it. Sorry. I need glasses. Cryptic Expeditions, the land between the lakes. And that is, I guess, that's the film. What do you call that? The film promo or cover or
Yeah, it's our poster
the
or
poster?
marquee,
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it.
Great.
Yeah. Let's get into this a little bit. Talk about what you can without giving it away.
Oh, I don't mind talking about any of it because I mean talking about it doesn't do it justice.
Mhm.
So it starts off kind of like a horror movie.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, it starts off with a bang.
Well, I do like the trailer. I wish I could
Mhm.
show the trailer. I don't have the trailer.
Oh, you don't have that trailer?
Oh, I do. Let me find it here.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg. Continue on, and we'll throw the
Okay.
trailer too, maybe
Yeah,
in a little bit.
it starts off a lot like a horror movie, and we start off with some of our own expeditions by ourselves. And you had mentioned earlier, sometimes you just take pictures of things, just to click, 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 click. Well, I do that too. And while I was doing that, I had an experiment of my own that I was doing. I was experimenting with glow sticks. I took a glow stick, put it high up in a tree as I could reach, going down the trail, and just kept on going down. And I had my full spectrum camera with me, and the display in it is so bright I never look in it. I just kind of pan around at random, and then when I go home, that's when I go over all the footage, But anyway, so we thought it was going to be a quiet night, except for, when we were going out, I saw the glow stick was on the ground. So I didn't think much about it, picked it up, put it in a pocket, kept on going. Well, when I was going over the footage,
Mhm.
I happened to pan around over toward the glow stick, and something is standing right by the glow stick. Now, this is a full moon night. The moon is kind of, it's in the back, right? And it's perfectly silhouetting this thing. This thing is about 6, 8 inches taller than what the glow stick was. And it looks as if it's looking straight at us. And when you go frame by frame, you can kind of see it just do this right here. It's
Mhm.
kind of wobbling back and forth. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's the perfect silhouette. I was like, oh. So that makes it into the film. You can see eyes of Bigfoot into the film that it was able to capture on our own. We are able to see hear disembodied voices that we captured while we were out on our own. And then we go into the Meadow Project and with Trey Hudson and his group, and we had a fascinating encounter there. One of my crewmates saw a shadow person trying to like jump into me, and it freaked him out. Yeah, it freaked him out
Wait a
so
minute,
bad.
jump into you.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
yeah. Seriously, I
Scary.
mean, it freaked him out so bad he will not go back there. Now, this is even after he wants to go back to the LBL one day,
Yeah.
but he won't go back to the Meadow.
Wow, that's scary.
It freaked him out that bad. He said the shadow person, because I was doing something called the Estes method, right? And that's when you have the headphones, the blindfold, and the ghost box, yada yada. And I have no idea what questions was being asked of me. And I'm just kind of blurting out whatever I hear in the ghost box, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so as I'm doing this, I'm saying these real apocalyptic things, and this whole time, Brent sees this
Sorry.
shadow person.
Just a soda. Just a soda.
Yeah, I thought, oh no, what's going on?
Yeah, hold on. But Brent sees this shadow person trying to enter me, and and it's another time where we have equipment failure. During this session, not one but 2 cameras shut off. That he had to go back manually restart both of them. So we didn't get all of that session, but that session was incredible, and it really freaked him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've gone back there several times myself, and I have seen shadow people myself. I saw a shadow person seemingly turn into an orb.
Interesting.
Morph into an orb. And it followed some people that was kind of up on a ridge. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And there was this Bigfoot chatter, or the voices, I would say, disembodied voices. We didn't see them. I just call them disembodied voices. They were so freaking loud. I mean, they was hurting my ears.
Wow.
Disembodied voices that were loud.
Loud.
Wow.
Loud. Very, very loud.
I had the trailer brought up. I'll just have to share my screen, Rob, whenever you guys are ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can do that, and then we'll continue on with this awesome documentary film, if you will. Before we do that, really quickly, I want to thank Maggie, Gary, for your awesome super chats, and BMR membership pirates. Thanks for that. Appreciate you. And Maggie has a quick question before we roll into it. Is infrasound potentially responsible for freezing people in place or the feeling of dread at all? I want to know.
It can be, yes.
I would agree.
Yeah, yes, it can be. So can EMFs. Electromagnetic fields can do that too. A number of things can do that, but most definitely infrasound would be could do that. Most definitely.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Thanks for that. Thank you, Maggie, for the awesome question.
Yep.
And yeah, I'll thanks JoJo for the super sticker. JoJo from another person from Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice Australian crowd in tonight.
Yeah, sure do. Sure do. Are you ready to see that?
Yeah, show it up, and we'll roll with that now.
All right, I gotta share my screen.
This is the trailer for Greg's film.
Yep.
Coming out. Trailer number 1.
Yeah, we'll have
you guys see that?
2 coming out.
Yeah, I just have to add it to the stage like normal. Is that it?
Yep. Let me know when you got it, because I can't see.
I got it. I'm gonna add it right now.
All right. Should I push play? Just tell me when to push play. You ready for it?
Yeah, push play.
Right.
There's something in front of you. Greg, we gotta get out of here.
Hey, no.
Okay. We gotta get out of here.
I've looked for scientific evidence of unknown species all over the world.
The entire gambit of the paranormal world seems to culminate right here at the Land Between the Lakes.
There were 2 creatures standing beside the road, probably 50 or 60 feet. They went and killed all the neighboring farms' animals and brought the carcasses to our farm. They were all mutilated in the exact same manner.
If you have an area which is very high in Bigfoot or the cryptid field, you also have a much higher than normal activity level in both ET and the paranormal field within the same areas.
we would be absolute knuckleheads not to investigate this further. So it's been a real journey, digging into the mysteries and peeling back the onion layers of strangeness.
Immediately as we entered the land between the lakes, we instantly knew the feeling changed. It was like the whole vibration of the place just changed.
This location has it all. And from Bigfoot sightings to Dogman sightings, to orbs, to lights in the sky, you name it. People have seen so many things in this area, and I'm really interested to see how this correlates to the other things that we've experienced.
I'm not just going to dismiss it as nonsense. I want to research it and investigate and see if I can come to some conclusions.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Go around a little bit. It's here! I've seen it and heard animals all over the world. I've never heard anything like this. Oh my God!
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You showed that. Is that the one you showed when we were all in Alabama?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It is. It is.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I had a quick mention before I forget. Bob Grumpy Wilson. Yeah, I give his respects. He passed on
He did.
right not too long after this was filmed, eh?
Yes.
Or somewhere around that time. Yeah.
Yeah, and to my knowledge, it's his last interview that he was able
Wow.
to give.
Wow.
So, that's it's special having Bob in there. Because I know his nickname was Grumpy, but after you got to know him, he was the most kind, sweet-hearted individual that I have ever met. One of the times I was in the meadow with him, I declined to go out on walkabout with him because I just wanted to sit and talk with Bob, or more or less listen to Bob. He did all the talking. I just sat back and listened. But he was a very, very special individual. But speaking of Bob, the last time I was there, we were kind of there in memory of Bob.
Yeah.
And I had what I think is my first psychic encounter there.
Wow.
Really? And it's still kind of hard for me to talk about because it's just, it doesn't sound all that fascinating, but to me, it really was. We were doing this group meditation, and in this group meditation, you just visualize whatever came to mind, and you shared that with the rest of the group. Well, one of the things I had visualized was this round white orb moving through the sky with a black dot in the middle. I had no clue what that was about, and I didn't know what that was, but I saw it, so that's what I said. And then Bob's figure came through, right? And those were the two main things that I saw during that meditation session. So when I was divulging this, Trey had looked over to me and he had said that, "Oh, I know what the white orb is. I'll tell you in a minute." So after I got through disclosing everything that I had seen, and particularly when I said I had seen Bob very vividly, he had said that Bob had seen a UAP that was a white orb with a black dot in the middle, and eventually the black dot engulfed the whole thing and it disappeared. But I thought it was incredible and I didn't know that he had seen that. He had so many encounters. He never told me about that. But I felt kind of guilty because it was a clear message from Bob because his ashes were spread there.
Oh,
right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But it was a clear message from Bob. And it really kind of shook me up a little bit because, all of the other people there knew him a lot better than I did. Mm-hmm. And I was feeling extremely guilty about this encounter that I had, and I had to leave immediately because I was kind of shooken up about it. And as I was, in my Jeep trying to get out of there, it seemed like I had a conversation with Bob, right?
Wow.
Wow.
And it was like more like a mental conversation or like something with telepathy, right? And I was like, dude, Bob, why me? Everybody else there knew you better than
Yep.
that.
Trey Hudson,
Right.
forever,
Right.
researcher,
Right. Yeah. Why me? And he said, and I could hear it just as clearly as you and I are talking. He says, it had to be you. Everybody else knew that story.
Oh,
It had to be you.
okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And
That's awesome. I mean,
well, yeah. And I was like, well, okay.
in a
I
sad
said,
way.
but why? He said, well, he wanted his ashes to be put there, not necessarily because he loved the place so much, but it was a place where all the people that he loved would gather in one spot.
Wow. That's awesome.
So it was more of a message that he was still there,
Yes.
looking over everybody and still communing with everybody.
Wow.
And I'm telling you that it doesn't sound like much, but it was the first time I'd ever had an encounter like that. And it really shook me up. I mean, with the guilt more than anything.
You shouldn't feel guilty though, because you were chosen and
Right.
you should feel honored. Honestly.
I was extremely honored. But until he said it had to be you, because everybody else knew that story. I didn't know that story. So for him to show somebody something that everybody else would know, I guess that I was chosen for that message.
Yeah,
so,
you were. Yeah. Well,
But
I know
Bob,
you and I have talked, and I know you're open to things like that, opening yourself up a little more too. So
I've done a lot of progress.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of progress in that arena lately.
Kristen knows a lot about these things. And I got to tell you, I think I've come to the conclusion. Let's take Bigfoot out of it. Certainly Dogman out of it. Dogman, no. Okay. Some people with Bigfoot, I guess, is an exception. But when it comes to the paranormal and spirits, and especially friends, loved ones from the past, and we get these out of the blue. In your case, it's certainly, despite it being out of the blue, it was very irrelevant in your case. But an average day for myself, I'll get things that happened that I think are not relevant. But Chris always says there's a meaning behind these spiritual encounters or thoughts or visions that we have, and there's always a reason behind them. I think that a lot of times these are brought forward because there is a purpose, and so for the person that receives them, they're to take it on as, yes, there's a reason behind it, and maybe it's up to us to kind of delve through it and figure out what they're trying to say. And in this case, it kind of highlighted itself a little bit through what you just said.
It did, and I had this conversation. It was clear as a bell until I started to leave the area, and then it was fading, and then it eventually faded away into nothing. But after that conversation, I did feel better, but I still had a lot of
sure
guilt. And this show would be great if Amy would just hit the like button.
Yeah, you talking about Amy Creel?
Yes,
that
hit
Creel.
the like button.
Well, she does say here, Greg is also distracted, so I can afford to be off my A game, Gary.
I'm paying attention, Amy. No, but the film it really starts off with a bang. It goes into the meadow, and then it kind of morphs into some of the history and some of the things around the LBL, and we kind of dig into the meat of the LBL. I'm just really excited about it because everything has come together just fantastically. Some of our shots that we had done before the LBL meshed with some of the history that we got there at the LBL. It's just fascinating how everything just come together. It was like a jigsaw puzzle that you threw up into the air, and then all the pieces just fell together.
Yeah. Well, you know what I find fascinating too, and you've said it before, I've heard you say it, and And I heard him say it myself. Adam Davies, man's
Mhm.
been all over the world. I mean,
Right.
he's went after the Yeti. I mean, you name it, he's been there. He's looked for it. And what did he say?
He had never had an encounter like he did with us, and furthermore, he had never seen orbs until he encountered them with us.
Yeah. And not only that, but you got that on film, which is really cool.
Yes, we got all that on film.
Yep. So,
which is again, it's fascinating. You know, like I say, this particular film, you know, again, it's like throwing a puzzle up in the air and then at random, all the pieces falling into place. You know, just excuse me.
It's going to be a good one.
Anna's,
it's going to be fun. It's going to be
Anna
fun.
from Jonestown says she can't wait to see this film. Now, I understand
you're
you're having
there too.
Yes, and
Oh, well, she's in it.
Yeah, and I understand that you're doing a premiere on this somewhere. I think in Alabama, is it? What is the premiere?
I am. It's going to be at AMC Theater in Coleman, Alabama. We are going to have a Hollywood-style premiere.
Oh, the red carpet and everything?
Yeah, it's going to be carpet there. I don't know if it'll be red or not. It might be mystery colored.
Well, I got to show up now. I got to get a limo. And I'm not even in the film, but, you know, just because, you know, it's BMR.
But, it's going to be a fun time. You know, and if you're going to come to the premiere, we're going to, you know, you'll have an opportunity to buy people's books, you know, and have pictures with the cast and crew. You know, there's certain posters that you can get. Depending on which ticket that you buy, you can get posters and signed DVD. So, and then we'll go into the theater and we'll all watch the film, and then right afterward there'll be a Q&A with the crew, the cast rather. And after that, we're going to leave and have an after dinner. So, you know, there'll be another chance to just to mingle with everybody. So it's going to be a fun time.
Yep. Brandy and I will be there.
You're going to have to send a link. Oh, I have your links, but send, you're going to have another poster with the dates and maybe perhaps the associated fees. I'm sure there's different levels for the dinner and everything.
There's different levels. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You still have tickets left. So if anybody,
I have a few left.
They're selling though. Yeah. That was
yes, they are selling quite fast. And there's only 2 of the VIP tickets, the highest ones. There's only 2 of them left. So, you know, if you're planning on wanting one of those, you better get them pretty quick.
So if you don't get any tickets, you have to, everything's a la carte.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Figures.
Yeah. So, but it's right now, it's about halfway sold out.
Okay.
Awesome.
And it's at the rate it's going, it'll be sold out probably by mid-October.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm thrilled at the way things are going. AMC is thrilled to have it there. You know, I couldn't have imagined a better working partner than the AMC theaters there. You know, I don't know. It's just been a pleasure working with them. You know, they've made things easy, and they've kind of gone out of their way to pitch in on some things, because it's not every day that they have a premiere in Coleman, Alabama. You know, but you know, and even in the future, I've got films coming up. You know, I've got the return to the LBL. I've got an unnamed film that we're going to start filming in October. That's going to center around missing people. In Tennessee. And I'm going to incorporate some interesting aspects in that film. I'm working with Merkle Media doing another film, and we start shooting it in November. But it's not my film. It's Merkle. It's one with Merkle Media, but I'll have a pretty good size, you know, pretty big part in it.
Okay.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah, and we've got another one where I'm going to be going out to the Red River, out toward Oklahoma. So I'm going to be pretty busy in the
Yeah, I'm
upcoming
lucky I
2
got
years.
you on when I got you on.
Yeah,
And he's also just coming and doing a ghost hunt with Brandy and I and our attendees
Right,
in October. So
right. There's little events like that I'm going to. I am really proud to be able to go to that event and help out there. That should be a fun time.
oh yeah.
You're going to have a Cryptid 101 and Paranormal 101.
Yeah, which I was kind of, I guess we can talk off backstage, but I was going to kind of twist your arm into getting up there with Brandy and I on the Cryptid 101 part.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You don't have to twist my arm on that. I'll be there. I can talk all day. You might have to shut me up, if anything.
No, I tell you this: nobody ever has to wind down or be quiet or shut up, because, especially in this business, no one likes dead air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, dead air is boring as
well. Yeah, well, yeah, right. I know you said.
Yeah.
It's great though. AMC. I think that I'm listening to you, and it's like I'm literally thinking. I know Hollywood is kind of not what it once was back in the golden era, right? Now it's kind of, but that reminded me though of like, cool, the premiere at a Hollywood event, man, the red carpet, the AMC theater. It's not at your local VFW hall with a screen and a camera and a film machine, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
it's gonna be. You get popcorn there if you want. I mean,
I can bring popcorn money. There's something better than movie theater popcorn,
It's like going in, yeah.
And if a lot of people chime in, I can get a really good deal on drinking popcorn. So
really,
yeah, I could save people a lot of money. I need to have interest from the people coming in it. Yeah.
Here's my 2 cents right now. I'm telling you now. So anybody else, you can count me in.
Yeah, I've got. I mean, probably 50 people need to say, "Hey, I want popcorn and a drink."
Yeah.
So, and that's something I can arrange.
I'm sure they can because I know for a fact for real fact that popcorn, one of the cheapest things you can manufacture or make for somebody, even with the butter. Double butter, by the way. I do double butter and salt. That's what I do.
Yeah, I do extra butter too.
Yeah, you gotta have that butter. You gotta have those greasy fingers.
Heck yeah.
I'm the type of guy I need to wear. I need to wear a bib because my shirt would get all fingered up with butter marks.
Give me both.
Just like when I eat crab or lobster.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Every time I go eat crab legs, I've got to have a big bib on me. I get that mess all over me.
Because when I get crab legs, I tear into them like no other. Because it's so darn hard to open half the time. And I'm just like a kid in a candy shop.
There is no delicate way to eat crab legs.
There is not.
There's not.
No. It's not like, people who go out on a first date. Don't ever get crab legs on a first date.
That's right. Unless you want to see them at their worst.
Right.
And another thing I forgot to mention.
Please do.
Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival, not to be confused with the conference, the festival, which happens in May. We're going to have a special screening of the film there.
And I think Brandy and I are down to go to that.
Yep. And podcasters, I can get in free to that. So they have something called Podcast Row. And a lot of people podcast from there. And this is a very large event, like 15,000 people come. It's huge. It's
really cool.
By far the largest Bigfoot conference in America.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you go this year?
I'm sorry?
Did you go this year?
I did not. No. I was contacted by the organizer of the event, and he had heard about the film and wanted, he's wanted to come down and see the premiere. And he said he was really interested in having the film shown at a special showing at the festival. So I'm
Awesome.
like, okay, yeah,
Mhm.
any chance I get.
Yeah, heck yeah. That'd be a good one. I know last year you were there and we had a good time. And like you said, there's so many people,
Yeah, that's the conference that's in Gatlinburg. The Bigfoot
separate?
Festival. Yeah,
Okay.
the Bigfoot Festival is held in Townsend, Tennessee,
Oh,
and it's much larger than the one that's in Gatlinburg.
wow.
Not-
See, Gatlinburg
yeah.
was huge. That's cool.
Yeah, it's like 3 times. There's about 5,000 people that go to the Gatlinburg conference.
I gotta get down to
And
this
there's
thing. too.
about 15,000 go to the festival.
There you
And
go,
it's
BMR. It'd be
Yeah.
worth your trip.
Podcasters row.
There's a podcast row. That's correct.
Wow. Yeah, I gotta.
Greg Scott Brandy and I signed up for it.
Mhm.
What was the
And-
date on that again?
It's in early May. I think the first weekend of May.
I was going to say I've got it on my calendar.
Well, I'm right early, man. I know.
Yeah,
talk
so
with you
and it's over a
guys.
period of days. It's not just one day.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'll be talking with you guys anyway. So yeah, I got.
Yep.
It really. I got to ask you the myth behind the LBL, since we're still talking. It's kind of correlation with your awesome film coming out here in January, the premiere. What's your thoughts? Any credence to the north end, the south end of the LBL, or Bigfoot hangs out at the north, Dogman at the south, or vice versa? I don't even know. Or that they don't commingle, or they do commingle. Any in your research, you come across any of those things, or is that all like just talk?
I have a policy that whenever I go into an area, I actually do minimal research.
Okay.
Because, and I've got a reason for that.
Mhm.
If I do research on a place, then I become biased
Yeah.
to certain opinions.
Yes.
So what I try to do is go in and experience for myself,
Okay.
and then come up with my own conclusions.
Right.
Yes.
And on that particular question, I know Bigfoot's in the South. I
Okay.
know that for a fact. I've seen them on the south end of it.
Yep.
Okay.
I haven't spent enough time on the north end. However, I thought we saw a Dogman on the north end.
Mm.
I can't confirm 100% like I did, when I did see the Bigfoot. However, one of the fellows that was with us he had a flashlight and turned it on, and right at the periphery of the light, there was a figure that was standing and then moved off, and it was big, but not as big as a Bigfoot.
Mm.
And it moved, fairly quickly. And then I didn't see it again. And then later we did see some eyes that was about 6.5, 7 foot up ish, something like that.
Okay.
And did not look like Bigfoot eyes. The Bigfoot eyes are mostly either red or greenish sometimes.
Yeah.
And these were, they were different. I can't even vocalize what the color was, because it was just weird,
Yeah.
and it was not scared of us. And, we were throwing rocks and stuff at it, and it didn't move away. Eventually it moved away, but well, I wasn't throwing rocks at it. Other people were.
Sure.
Because I'm not that, anyway.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But I also heard movement that was bipedal that did not sound like Bigfoot on the north
Okay.
end. And this was at the cemetery that you were at.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So where was that Dogman? I can't confirm that, but the evidence kind of seems more to lean toward Dogman up there.
Okay.
You know,
So
I feel like they're at both. I don't think there's like
probably, yeah.
like
I don't,
Well, here's my thing. Why I even ask the question is I don't believe, and again, when I say I don't believe, that's tongue in cheek. What I say is, if there's cryptids, Dogman, and Bigfoot in an area, I don't think that they are subject to one area. I don't think the Bigfoot or Dogman get together. I'm on the north, you're on the south because you're my enemy. Don't even know if they're enemies, what their existence is with each other, if they have relations with each other.
Well, look at Martin Groves' encounter. His encounter was with both.
And
it
it
was
was
on
in
the
the same
south.
area. And wasn't there two Bigfoot in the same area or something like that, if I recall?
Bigfoot and Dogman.
Yes.
So yeah, so I can't really say. I haven't had enough experience there.
Sure.
But the two experiences that I did have there was something on both ends. I couldn't say exactly what it was on the north end, but on the south end, I know for a fact that was a Bigfoot because I saw it.
Yep.
You mentioned red eyes, green eyes. I got to ask you this question. There's some questions you're coming up with that I haven't asked people in a long time. And again, this is what your thoughts are. Some people suggest that the red eye shine or the red gleam you might see if you see an actual Bigfoot is nefarious, and green is nice, and yellow is in between, right? Do you think there's do you think that's those are appropriate words when describing the eye shine? Red, green, yellow, opaque. A lot of say opaque, which is just kind of, I think I hear that a lot as well. Eggshell color, off white. What's the difference? I know regular dogs, their eye shine is red a lot that I've noticed, and then and I think foxes are green, I think, or yellow. So is it just depending on the cone? I mean, is it just a scientific thing with the eye shine, or is that something that maybe is inherently good or bad in something when we're talking about these cryptids anyways?
Well, the short answer to that is I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
The long answer is Bigfoot do have red eyes because that's what I've seen.
Okay.
I've seen them with red eyes. I've possibly seen them with blue eyes, the whitish blue.
Yeah.
I've possibly seen them with that. I haven't seen green or whatever else colors in their eyes. But while I was at the LBL, when the Bigfoot was in front of the truck, its eyes weren't glowing or anything. It was just standing there.
Yeah.
And then when it moved off into the woods, its eyes did become luminous, and they were red. Later on, we went back to that same spot, and we did not have a scary encounter then. We thought it was quiet until we looked over the footage and we saw more red eye glow, not eye shine, it's eye glow. And there were 4 to 5 of them out there, and there was all red. So I don't know if they necessarily mean anything,
Right.
I don't even know how they do it, to be honest with you. I mean, all I know is that they do it. And for a long time, I wasn't even in a place where I would believe that they did it until I saw it. I say, we've seen it. So they do it. I don't know how.
Yeah, I bring that up only because there's so many different colors you get from people's stories, the things I read, people I talk to. And I will tell you this, and I bring mine up, my encounter with whatever the hell I saw, and I still to this day don't call it Bigfoot 100%, even though I say it's my Bigfoot encounter, because that's the description that it fits to the best of my knowledge, recollection. But here's the thing. It was during the day, and I was pretty close, as most people know, and the eyes on this thing were big, and they were brown. They were brown with white, really. They were like big brown eyes with white, just like a human being. But then when it metamorphosized into what I say the demonic creature, they rolled back nothing but blackness. So, and most people don't experience that, I don't think, with these accounts. not that I've heard of. So even mine was again something different.
Mm-hmm.
Which I
Yeah,
can't.
you know, I don't. All I know right now is that they do it. These encounters are so rare. It's hard to get a whole lot of research into, you know, what one color means over another. You know, is one cut? Do the males produce one color and the females produce another? Do when they start off young, do they have a color and it eventually morphs into other colors as they get older? You know, there's 1,000 theories that you could come up with, but until you actually have a group of them and you can actually study them, and you know, able to take notes without being torn apart, well, everything is conjecture until then. But all I know is that yeah, there's different colors.
Yeah. And
But
again,
I
I
don't know
thought
what to do. I don't know.
I
what
know
they
you
are.
don't. And again, the answer that I like the best from everybody is I don't know, because we're not. Hey, listen, we don't have the facts. We're not. We're
Mhm.
not. You know, it's not something. Nothing's factual when it comes to these things. What's factual is this: that you say you're a knower, I'm a knower, Chris is a knower,
Mhm.
because we've seen them in person. That is the only thing I can say about these creatures that is
Right.
fact. They exist because I've
Right.
seen one.
Right.
And I would not call it as fact if I thought I saw one or if I thought I heard one. But until you see it with your own eyes, then you can. That's about the only thing that we can say distinctively that we know.
Right.
And we know, and we're fortunate. In some cases, some people aren't as fortunate. They wish they never
It
seen
consumes
these
some
things.
people.
Absolutely. And
Yep.
and you know what they say? Time flies when you're having fun. I don't know if we have any questions. I want to thank, first of all, Maggie, Gary, Jojo, 1, 2, 3, 4. Maggie, again, for your awesome super stickers and memberships. And I don't think we had any questions. I think, well, we had 2 from Maggie and we answered them. So yeah, pretty cool.
Mhm.
This is a great show. Why don't we go back over where can we buy the tickets? Is there any place we can buy the tickets for the premiere? You're maybe half full. Let's find out what we can do to get down to Alabama.
Okay, you can go to my Facebook page
I'm
and
looking
my
at the
YouTube
link right now.
Okay. My Facebook page and my YouTube page both have places where you can purchase the tickets to the premiere of the LBL. And they are $20, $30, and $40, depending on which package that you want. The $40 package is almost sold out. There's only 2 tickets left to that. And the $30 package, the other ticket, those are all getting close to being sold out. The general seating is the one that's still open a lot. So it is going to be January 4th. 2025 in Coleman, Alabama. There's not going to be any football games happening that day. There's no playoff games. There's no bowl games. There's nothing to compete with this. So
I think that was the wisest decision you could have made during football season. Excellent. I got to give you applause for that one. You know, just
Thank
like
you,
people
thank
would have
you,
weddings during Michigan, Ohio State, Lions playoffs. Come on, people.
Right.
Good call. Good call. Good call, Greg.
Yep. So I'm trying to make this as convenient for everybody as we can. There's going to be meet and greet before and after the premiere, so you'll have chances to just come and talk with us in person and kind of hang out, joke with us, and become like a big family. We're going to be I'm very personable. I'll talk to anybody, almost
We all
anybody.
will.
Yeah, so it's going to be a fabulous time, and we'd love to see people come out. And if you cannot make it to Alabama, there's going to be a streaming version. Those tickets go on sale Black Friday, and you can watch it from the comfort of your home. You won't be able to hang out with us, but you'll still be able to see it from the comforts of your home. Like I say, those tickets go on sale Black Friday, and they'll be on sale up until up until showtime.
Awesome.
That's awesome. And I was going to refrain from using anything with the word moist today. So our good buddy Ristel, a member for 8 months, BMR Pirate R, this documentary, Greg, is going to be moist.
Moist. It's going to be the most moist documentary ever.
For those that's over your head, I get it. That's okay.
Whoever thought, Greg, seriously, like, yeah, that just, Greg sends random words.
Yeah.
That's how that started.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
That's
You
how that
know,
started.
I'll send random words to some of my friends like Shazbot, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of that one. Was that Mork and Mindy?
Yes,
Shaz-
it
yeah,
was.
okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's one of
Where'd I
Mork's
come-
words.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was.
Yeah. And moist was my word that he sent. How do you respond to that?
Right. Yeah, moist. Hey, moist. The show was moist today. I really enjoyed it. I've been, got moist in the lips a little bit here. That was a great show. Great
Fun.
show. It's gonna be a great documentary coming up. You always do great work, and you are.
Yep.
I met you out for the first time in person in Alabama. You are a pleasure. It's always great talking to you. You are
Thank you.
humble guy, very,
Mhm.
very nice guy, easy to approach, which
Yep.
is hard to find sometimes with all these big timers.
Yeah. I'm just humbled people like the work.
Yep.
There you go. That's a good way to put it. And I want to thank everybody for coming on in. If you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. and Rob on YouTube. Thanks for all the super chats, the love, the support of the show. Thanks for the support for Greg. Go check him out if you can. It's well worth it, especially if you're in the area. And it's going to be awesome. So thanks once again. And I'm going to tune it on out here once I find the extra button, if you will. It takes me a little while now to find it. Krista, I don't know. I got so much reams of information in here. Reams of information. There it is. For Greg, for Chris, I'm BMR. Until next time, we're out.
See ya.